Welcome to the Second Scoop. I'm Cheng here to give you this week's big gun news. In our lead story, last Monday, January 5th, a group of Muslim extremists burst into the office of Charlie Hebdo, a satirical magazine in Paris, France, and executed 12 innocent employees for publishing what the extremists considered to be offensive content. This is just a tragic incident, and I am so heartbroken and sad at what has happened in Paris, France. My heart goes out to the victims and the victims' families and their fellow Frenchmen. These were innocent people who promoted freedom. The American gun community's response has been wide and varied. Some folks have been talking about whether France's gun laws will be tightened or relaxed. France already has pretty strict gun control, and so as we saw, the bad guys still had guns and the innocent people didn't have guns to protect themselves. But it's unlikely that France's gun laws are going to be changing anytime soon. Speculation has also been swirling as to whether the Paris shootings will have any implication on U.S. gun control efforts, and so we'll have to wait and see if anything comes about, but it doesn't look like there's much happening on that front at the moment. Now, however, all that's speculation, but what I want to talk about is the United States' response to the shootings, and quite frankly, as an American, I'm embarrassed and ashamed at our country's response. A few days ago, millions of people descended upon Paris for a unity march to stand up against terrorism and against violence. 40 world leaders attended this rally. The Obama administration has admitted a slip-up, having not sent the president, nor the vice president, nor the Secretary of State, or Secretary of Defense. And with Attorney General Eric Holder, get this, he was already in Paris, France for official meetings, and he still didn't prioritize going to the Unity March. Perhaps maybe he wanted to take advantage of the short tourist lines at the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower, but it's really just a disgrace that he couldn't prioritize attending the Unity March to represent America. We sent the U.S. ambassador to France, who nobody in France knows who that person is, let alone anybody in America knows who this person is either. And so CNN and other news outlets have reported the White House's statement that they should have sent a higher profile delegate. To the citizens of France, people like me and millions of other Americans stand with you in solidarity against terrorism. We will not let terrorists silence us, and we need to protect our right to speak our mind and be free. Je suis Charlie. The second news story for the week is gun-toting actor Liam Neeson basically calling for more gun control and trying to exploit the tragedy in Paris, France. When faced with the notion that he runs around in movies toting guns and shooting and killing people, his response was, "I grew up watching cowboy movies, loved doing that with my fingers, bang bang, you're dead. I didn't end up a killer." Well, let me tell you something, Liam. I grew up shooting guns for real, and I didn't end up being a killer either. So the hypocrisy here is so deep. Here we have Liam Neeson, an actor making money from very realistic but simulated violence in his movies, yet he's calling for the disarming of United States citizens. Stop thinking that gun control is going to make people safer, because the bad guys will never turn in their guns. And now for this week's story of a good guy with a gun brings us to Cleveland, Ohio. Deli store owner Faris Nasser was working at his store when all of a sudden in came a robber who demanded money and pointed a gun at him. Nasser thankfully had a gun behind the counter. A gunfight ensued inside the shop. Neither the attacker or the shop owner were injured. The shop owner had this harrowing footage captured on surveillance, and the suspect is still at large. But this is yet another example of how a good guy with a gun was able to protect himself, and another example of how the police can't be everywhere all the time. And now on to the video of the week. It's not often that you get to see a gun fail on video, and so there's this fantastic video of an AK-47 exploding in the user's hands. The manufacturer noted that the cause of the explosion was a head spacing issue, and so thankfully the manufacturer has replaced the gun and is working closely with the owner, who also thankfully was not harmed. Well, that's it for this week's episode of The Second Scoop. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cheng.